This episode of Stuck in Vermont is brought to you by Burlington College.
'Cause we're stuck in Vermont.
I love words. But especially I love words and pictures together in a mystical way that I can't even explain.
Welcome to Stuck in Vermont, brought to you by 7 Days. My name's Ava Stahlberger. We are here in the wilds of Bolton, Vermont to talk to cartoonist Alison Bechdel.
I usually draw myself, to tell you the truth, so I might as well just go with that, huh?
She has been drawing the comic strip Dykes to Watch Out for about 20 years, and a compilation of her work, The Essential Dykes to Watch Out For, was just released.
The characters in the comic strip were like my friends. My imaginary friends.
In 2006, she published the novel Fun Home, which received widespread critical acclaim. It was the #1 book of the year, Time magazine. It was on the New York Times bestseller list for weeks, and it's now being made into a Broadway musical.
I can't be the oppressed underdog anymore. I have to, suck it up and change gears.
What you might not know about Alison is she can do a mean push-up, and I can't.
Want to try it?
Yes.
You do suck, in fact. I always have to look on the negative side of things. Deep, gnawing doubt at every step. I really put so much of myself into my work. But
Black gold.
it's totally magical. Yeah, that's the funny part. It gets sort of turning in on itself. What am I talking about? Who knows? I don't know. When this very glowing review of Dykes to Watch Out For, of The Essential Dykes to Watch Out For, came out in the New York Times a couple weeks ago, the first thing I thought of was, I remember reading the New York Times in the 80s every day, and it was so infuriating because they would never use the word gay or lesbian. They would always say homosexual. And now, here are my freaky queer lesbian cartoons in the New York Times. I always drew. I just never stopped. Most children stop. Here's a caricature of Richard Nixon that I made when I was 12. I used to love making these things that said keep out. And I had this whole fixation on muscle man. Muscle-bound stupid head of the year. It's like the Charles Atlas ad in the back of the comics. God, talk about repetition compulsion. That's my middle name. Political is personal. Personal is political. Political is personal. I didn't really become a political person until I realized I was a lesbian. I was just this oblivious middle-class white kid who didn't understand the structures of power or oppression or anything. My very existence became politicized for me, and that's what enabled me to see all these things. It wasn't just me. It was a whole cultural movement that was also doing those things that I was a part of. And I said, I write a comic strip, and he says, well, what's it called? And I said, Dykes to Watch Out For. I'm earnest, I'm 25 years old, and people just look at you like you're a crazy person, like I was a pornographer or something, And then it started to shift. The subculture that I'd been a part of was starting to disintegrate. Assimilation started to happen, people wanted to be like everyone else.
So why do you ask if my art is my body and my body is the paint that left splatters on your mind? For everyone there is, there's like 10 that ain't. So let me touch yourself with a little bit of pain.
The title came out of nowhere. Oh, here it is. It just says Marianne dissatisfied with the breakfast brew, and then I wrote Dykes to Watch Out For. So in a way it was sort of this androgynous form, like there's the girl part of the soap opera and the boy part of the op-ed column. I did Dykes as a way to make space for my own self. I created these characters to be my community, to be my fantasy community that I never quite felt that I had. I was still somehow felt cut off, and I was missing the action. It wasn't like I knew what it was going to turn into. And by the time I was 30, I was able to just quit my other jobs and just be a cartoonist. I got a lot of recognition in the gay and lesbian community, but I kept thinking I would somehow cross over or get a bigger readership, and it didn't happen until it's sort of starting to happen now that I've quit, which is ironic. Fun Home was a story, that's just was simmering in my head for 20 years, because ever since my father died when I was 19, I feel like the story of my father and me is very much a political story, because it's this story of 2 generations of gay people. My father was gay, and I was, and we both grew up in the same little Pennsylvania town, and he killed himself, and I became a lesbian cartoonist. I like the Czech one because my name is Alison Bechdel. Korean and the Spanish. There's a Portuguese, Italian, German. There's simplified Chinese and complex, because I feel like it's not even really me. Although it is. It's very disconcerting. It was disconcerting when it happened with Fun Home. But I took some grim comfort in saying to myself, well, nobody's recognizing my Dykes to Watch Out For work. But now that this book is out, it's getting a lot of really good attention too. It's kind of freaking me out. Like, now what?
Why the strength thing? Why do you work out all the time?
Fear of intimacy?
That's your answer for everything.
It is.
I use it too.
No, it's like a fantasy of self-sufficiency. I have this thing like, I shouldn't talk about this because I'm writing a book about it, but I feel like if I can hoist my own weight, that's a real indicator of my being, like I could drag myself out of a pit. No, I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be invincible and invulnerable. Vermont attracts a certain kind of person, you know? Someone who doesn't mind suffering and struggling.
And
Shoveling. I just love it here. Hear the water?
What if you're the black and white and I am just the color? What if you're the canvas and I the painted cover? What if I'm the one that's defined by you? Will you still believe that my art is for you? But I guess they said canvas needs paint, and for everyone there is, there's like 10 that ain't. And your actions really spoke much louder than your words. So the girl in the dirty shirt is getting kinda bored and blurred and caught in a fantasy deep in the waters of your cow gone back, cryptic like the language of unsolvable math.
Where's the cat? It's like she's a heat-seeking missile.
come here.
I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get her.
Oh boy, I can't wait to see the Broadway version of Fun Home. We'll get stuck around with you again real soon. People bugging you all the time.
Yeah.
And, like,
People coming out to my house with video
cameras.
cameras.
I know.
Your reach should exceed your grasp.
It has to.
How about that? That's a good cliche, huh?
Yeah, I like it. And Tintin's climbing the mountain right behind you.
That was basically an ID number at my school in San Francisco. You know, I was 02118722. I was in core level. I grew to really, really miss the camaraderie and community of a smaller school like this, and the ability to actually get genuine, sincere feedback. And small class size is great too. Go to Burlington College.